that is containers. The next topic we'll try to understand now in today's class is what? Containers. Uh, Try to understand what is meant by containers, uh, when to use it, and what are the different types of containers we'll have. We'll try to understand now in today's class. The first point we need to understand, what is meant by container is, container is one of the control. Container is one of the control in Power Apps. So what's meant by container? Container is one of the control in Power Apps, Canvas apps. So how we'll have the different types of controls like form control, button control, rectangular control, date picker. In the same way, container is also one of the control in Power Apps. And next point we'll try to understand what the containers will contains means. Containers are used to group them. Containers are used to group the different controls. Group the different controls in Power Apps. What is the use of these containers is? Containers are used to group the uh, different controls in Power Apps. And the next point we'll try to understand. Mostly the containers are used to improve the performance of your app. That means to make the app is responsive. Let me go and keep here. Containers are used to make them. Containers are used to make the apps are more responsive in Power Apps. In Power Apps, Canvas apps. So what is the use of this? What is the main use of this containers is? Containers are used to make the apps are more responsive in Power App Canvas apps. So by default, in the whatever the apps you are creating in the Canvas apps, those are not responsive. As we know that whatever the apps you are creating in the Canvas app, those are not responsive. So to make the apps are more responsive, whatever the apps you are creating in the Canvas, so we can go and make use of what? Containers. With the help of these containers, we are going to make the apps are more responsive in Power Apps, Canvas apps. And next, the second point we'll try to understand. The next point we'll try to understand. We have the types of containers. So, types of containers in Power Apps. What are the different types of containers we'll have? There are three types, guys. The first one is container. The first one is what? Container. The second one is horizontal container. Horizontal container. Third one is vertical container. So there are three different types of containers we'll have. One is container. Second one is what? Horizontal container. Third one is vertical container. These are three different types of containers we'll have. And whatever the first one we'll have, we'll call it as manual layout container, guys. It is a manual layout container. And the second one, this horizontal container is an auto layout container. Auto layout container. Whereas this vertical container is also comes under the auto layout container. So what is meant this manual? Why I'm calling this one as a manual layout container? Why I'm calling this two as a auto layout container? You'll understand. I'll explain the difference, guys. So containers we have the three types. In those also, first one will comes under the manual layout container. The second two will comes under the auto layout containers. Fine. Now let me go and discuss one by one. What's meant by container? What is this horizontal container? And what's meant by vertical container? First, let me discuss about the container, guys. So, what is this container means? As we know that container is used to group the different controls in Power Apps. in Power Apps, which is used to make the apps are more responsive. So now whatever the containers you are going to keep within this container, whatever the controls we are going to keep within the container. So by default, uh, it is possible to drag and drop, drag and drop, comma, resize the controls in container control, in container control. That means by default in this container control, as we know that it is used to add the different controls, it is used to group the different controls. Whatever the controls you are adding in this container control, uh, it is by default it is possible to drag and drop, and we can resize the controls in the container. You can drag the controls, and you can resize the controls manually by drag and drop. And next one is horizontal container. Now what is this horizontal container is? First try to understand the definitions, guys. I'll show you practically how this will work. The second one is horizontal container. Now what is this? What's the functionality of this horizontal container is? This horizontal container, it is used to position, it is used to position the controls from left to right. So what is the, in this horizontal container, whenever if you keep the controls, so this horizontal container, it is used to position the controls from left to right. And the next point, it is not possible by default, it is not possible, it is not possible to drag and drop, comma, resize the controls in horizontal container. By default, in the horizontal container, we are not able to drag and drop or resize the controls. So if you want to resize the controls in horizontal container, or if you want to drag and drop, by default is not possible. We need to use what? We need to use the properties. So by default, we are not able to drag and drop in the horizontal container. So we need to go and use the different properties. With the help of the properties only, we are able to move the controls, or we are able to resize the controls in the horizontal container. And also one more point, it is possible to make the horizontal container to a vertical container. Guys. We can make the horizontal container to what? A vertical container also. Let me keep that point here. Let me keep that point. It is possible to make the horizontal container to vertical container. So if you want to change the horizontal container to a vertical container, yes, you can do it. So how to change the horizontal container to a vertical container, you'll understand this. So what is this horizontal container? So in the horizontal container, how it will place the controls? It will place the controls from left to right. That means if there is, let's take this is a horizontal container. In this container, as we know that container is used to group the different controls. Whenever I add the controls to the horizontal container, it will place the controls from left to right horizontally. It will place the controls from left to right horizontally. Is what the behavior. And if you want to drag and drop this, if you want to drag and drop this controls in this container, by default is not possible. You need to make use of what? Properties. With the help of the properties only, we are able to resize and move the controls in the horizontal container. And also we can make this horizontal container to a vertical container. How to make the horizontal container to a vertical container, I'll show you guys. So this is what's meant by horizontal container. Next, let me go and discuss about what vertical container. Now, what is this vertical container? Let me keep here. This vertical container, it is used to position the controls from top to bottom. It is used to position the controls from top to bottom. That means if you are using the horizontal container, this horizontal container, it will position the controls from top to bottom. So one after the other, from top to bottom, it will place the controls in the container. And next, as we know that by default, it is not possible to drag and drop the or resize the controls in the vertical container. We are not able to drag and drop or resize the controls in the vertical container. We need to make use of what? Properties. With the help of the properties only, we are able to move them or resize them. By default, it is not possible to drag and drop. And also, it is possible to change them, or it is possible to make them a vertical container to a horizontal container. We are able to change this vertical container to what? Horizontal container. How to change the vertical container to horizontal container? You'll understand. So this is what the vertical container is. Simple. Different. Mostly we'll use either horizontal container or vertical containers in the real-time scenarios case. What is the difference between the horizontal container and vertical container is? In the horizontal container, the the controls will be positioned from left to right. But whereas in the vertical container, that means in the horizontal, it will position the controls from in the container from left to right. Whereas in the vertical container, it will position the controls from, let's take this the container, it will position the controls from top to bottom. This is what the vertical container. And by default, both in the horizontal and vertical containers, we are not able to drag and drop the controls. We need to use the properties. And also we can make this horizontal container to a vertical, or we are able to make the vertical container to a horizontal container. So this is what the what's meant by vertical container, horizontal container. By default, there is one more called container. These are three different types of containers we'll have, and what's the behavior of it. Now let me go and open the Power App. Let me show you how to go and work with these different types of containers, guys, and what's the functionality of each. Let me go and open the Power App. Let me go and create an app to work with the containers. So in today's class, we'll give some basic introduction at a high level, how the containers will be used and what's the functionality of each type of container and how it will work. Let me go and click on create containers. Click on create. So I'm passing the app name as containers. So first point you need to understand, most containers are used for what? To make the apps are more responsive. By default is the important point, guys. By default, in the Canvas app, whatever the apps you are creating, it is not responsive. To make it as responsive, we need to make use of what? Containers. With the help of the containers only, we are able to make the apps are more responsive. Let me go and open the app now. And here in today's class, we are going to discuss about what? Containers. Let me rename it to what? Containers. Let me rename it to containers. And let me change the screen color. Let me go and keep some screen color. And let me go and uh, add some containers. Let me go to the insert tab where we can find out the containers. Let me go and search for the layout. So in the layouts group, you can find out what different types of containers, guys. So here you can see the horizontal container, vertical container, horizontal container. Now before going to start discussing about the containers, whenever if you are creating an app, in that app if you are using the containers, make sure go to the settings, go to the settings, and then go to the display settings, go to what? Display. And there is an option here called scale to fit. Make sure you need to turn off it. Whenever if you are working with the containers, make sure you need to turn off it. Let me turn off the scale to fit and then click on close. Now let me go and discuss about the containers now. Now let me go to the insert tab. Let me go and search for what? Containers. When I search for the container, you can see there are three different types of containers: horizontal container, vertical, and container. So first let me add this one, guys, container. Let me add this one. Let me keep it here. Just drag and drop. I'll keep it here. Uh, let me go and increase the width. Let me keep it like this. Let me increase the height. And let me keep some header. This is just a container. Fine. And let me select this. Let me go and add some background color. Okay. So let me change the background color for this. To take the background color, let me take some coloring here. Let me take the RGB colors. Let me go to the fill color. Fine. This is the color I want to keep, fill color. And next, let me go and add one horizontal container also here. Let me go and add one horizontal container. Let me go and search for what? Containers. Let me go and add one horizontal container. Just drag and drop, align it properly. And let me go to the fill color. Let me keep the same fill color for this one also. Let me copy, paste. Let me keep it as what? Horizontal container. Fine. This is the horizontal container. This is my container. And let me add the vertical container here. Let me go and add the vertical container. Just 1 second. Sorry for disturbance. And now I'm adding another one more container, that is vertical container. Just drag and drop, keep it here. Keep this vertical container here. Fine. Let me go to the fill color. Let me skip the same fill color. Just to differentiate you, I'm keeping some fill colors, guys. For better visibility purpose, I'm keeping some fill colors. So this is what? This is the horizontal container. Copy and then paste. Sorry, this is the vertical, right? Let me go and rename it to vertical container. Fine. So these are different containers I'm adding. So I'm adding the vertical container, horizontal container, and container control. So these are, so this is also a control case. If you see, when I go and search for the containers, so container is also one of the control. Container is also one of the control in Power Apps. So now first let me go and discuss about the container. First let me go and discuss about what? Container control. Now try to understand what's the functionality of this container control. As we know that uh, by default, it is possible to drag and drop and resize the elements in the container control. Let's take, I'm going to add some text labels here. Let me add one text label. Let me go and increase the height and width. Let me resize it. Let me keep it here. Let me change the text to, uh, let me keep the text as A. Let me keep it in semi-bold, increase the font size to 80 and then align it to center. Fine. So this is what I'm keeping. So I'm adding some text label and then just copy, paste. This is another one more text label. Let me change the text to B. I'm adding few controls here. uh, Let me copy and paste the same here. Let me go and change it to B or C. So these are the different controls I'm adding. So let me go and keep some color for them. Let me take some RGB colors. So just to differentiate for understanding purpose, go to the fill color, and then let me go to this. Let me add some other fill color. Let me go here, take this fill color. Fine. So these are the controls I'm adding in this. Now, as I said that if you observe, in this container control, by default, you can drag and drop the controls. Guys. You can drag and drop wherever you want to keep, and you can resize them based on your requirement. If you want to resize, you can resize. And if you want to drag and drop wherever you want, you can just go and drag and drop it. So this is what the functionality. What has happened? Let me go to the text property. Let me change it to A. Just 1 second, guys. It is changed. Fine. So like this, whatever the container you are creating here, in this container you can just drag and drop and you can resize it. So most of the times we are not going to use them. And also if you observe, I mentioned some names. So this container control, it's a manual layout control. Everything can do it manually here. So why? Because if you go to this control, container control, when I go and right click on it, when I click on view code, when I go and see the view code, and you can see the type is what? It is a manual layout container. It's a manual layout container. But whereas if you go to the horizontal container, when I click on view code, you can see it is horizontal auto layout container. It is an auto layout container. And also if you go to the vertical, in the vertical also when I go to the view code, it is a auto layout container. So vertical and horizontal, these two are the auto layout containers. This is the manual layout container. We don't use this much in the real-time scenarios. Most of the times we'll go and use either horizontal or vertical container. So this is what the functionality of the container control. Now let me go and discuss about the vertical horizontal container. Now in this horizontal container, I'll go and add the same icons. You can directly add from here. You can see the plus icon. When I click on it, you can see the insert tab from here itself. Or you can select this, go to the insert tab. Let me add one text label. So now see, as I said that this horizontal container, it will add the controls from where? It is used to position the controls from left to right. It is used to control the positions from left to right. Now if I observe here, I'm adding one text label. It is keeping towards what? Here, left side. When I go and add another one more text label, it will add it to the next. So when I go and add another one more text label, it will add to the next. So it will position the controls from left to right. It will position the controls from left to right. And now let me do one thing. Let me go and change the font to text to A. Let me keep it in semicolon, increase the font size to 80. And let me go and increase the height width. Let me select this control. There is a property called width property. Where it is? Just 1 second. Let me select this. Font size, font weight, font left side, font height, font width. I think it is not allowing. So let me do one thing, guys. Let me do one thing. Let me select all this. Let me remove them. Let me remove them. So let me copy the same control. Let me copy it from here. So this is the control I'm adding. Just copy this and then go to this container, paste it here. So is the control I'm adding from the left side, and then paste it again. So in this I want to change the text to what? I need to go and change the text to B. So as I said that it is going to place the controls from left to right. So I think this is not the one. Let me remove this one. Let me select the B, second one B. Let me keep it here, copy it and then paste it here. And then let me select the C, copy and then paste it here. So as I said that it is going to paste the controls from left to right. So it is going to paste the controls from left to right. So A, B and C. I'm adding the three text labels. It is going to make those text labels. It is keeping those text labels from left to right. And next, if you go to the vertical container, the behavior is same. If you go here, when I go and add the controls, as I said that this vertical container will add the controls in which format? From top to right, from top to bottom, guys. When I go here now, let's take when I select this, when I go to the insert tab and I add one text label, and now see here, it is adding it on the top. When I go and insert another one more text label, it will add it here in the bottom. So like this, it will add the controls from top to bottom, vertical container. It will add the controls vertically in this vertical container. Whereas coming to the horizontal container, in the horizontal container, it will add the controls horizontally. So this is what the uh, functionality of vertical and horizontal container, main behavior. Think we can change the width property from here, but it is not possible to increase the height. Let me go to the height property. Let me keep the height to 80. Yes, we can do it. And also let me go and keep the width property to 100. And then let me change the text to A. And then let me go and align it to center. Keep it in the semi bold. Increase the font size to 80. And let me go and increase the height to, let me go and increase the height to 100. Or let me keep it as 120. It is too big. Let me keep it as 110. Fine. Let me keep the width to 120. 110. Fine. It looks good. So now let me go to the fill color. Let me go to the fill color. Let me add the fill color. Same I want to do. You can copy and paste, or you can do it manually. Here I'm just copying and pasting in this horizontal control, but here I'm showing you how to do it manually. Let me select this and then go to the color. Let me copy this color, fill color, and then go to the property, fill property, copy and paste. And then go to the second one. Same you can do, guys. Go to the height property 110 and then go to the width property 110. And now let me go and change the text to B, align it to center, keep it in the semi bold, increase the font size to 80. Let me add the color, fill color. Let me take this fill color. Go to the fill color property. Just copy and paste. And then let me add another one more text label. Horizontally it will add. Let me go and keep the height property to 110. Let me go and fix the width property also to 110, both height and width. Let me change the semi bold, keep the font size to 80. And also let me change the text to what? C. And then let me copy the color. Let me go to the fill color. Keep it like this. Fine. So this is what, how to go and add the controls, guys. Now, as we know that, let me select this, increase the width property to 130, 150. Looks good. Fine. So as we know that, as the horizontal container is going to place the controls horizontally, a vertical container is going to place the controls vertically. And by default, as we said that in this container control, you can just drag and drop the controls, guys, and you can resize them. But when I go to the horizontal container, if you see, let's take, I want to drag and drop it. I want to keep it in the third position. So when I go and drag and drop it, now it is possible means no. If you can see, it is not possible to drag and drop. I'm not able to drag and drop it. And also if I go and resize it, it is not possible. Same in the vertical container. If I want to drag and drop, it is not possible to drag and drop it. And also if I try to resize it, it is not possible. So by default in the horizontal container or in the vertical container, we are not able to drag and drop or resize the elements. If you want to drag and drop or resize the elements, we need to go and use what? Properties. By default, we'll have the different types of properties. With the help of properties, how to resize them and how to drag them, you'll understand. So before that, first let me select the horizontal container, guys. This horizontal container will have one properties. Let me select the horizontal container. Now let me go and discuss about the properties of the horizontal container. So when I select this horizontal container will have some properties. So first property is what? Direction. So this horizontal container direction is what by default? Horizontal. So as it is a horizontal container, if you place the controls, it will keep those controls in the horizontal mode. If you want to change this horizontal container to a vertical container, you can change. Let me go and click on this drop down. You can change the horizontal. This is the horizontal container, right? We can change it to vertical container. Now see, it is placing the controls vertically. So it is possible to change the horizontal container to a vertical container. As I said that I mentioned here, it is possible to make the horizontal container to what? A vertical container. So same I'm doing here. By default, the container is a horizontal. The default direction is horizontal. If you want to change it to vertical container, you can change it. It is up to us. And next, uh, justification and then alignment. So here justification is the primary axis. Is the primary axis is what? This is the primary axis, horizontal. Secondary axis is what? Vertical alignment. Now let me go to the primary axis. Primary axis is justification, that is horizontal alignment. So by default is start. So by default in this container it is keeping at the starting case. It is in the start. So by default is start. Let me go and select what next one. It is center. When I select the center, now see it is placing all the controls in the center of the container. Now when I select this next one end, it will keep the controls in the container in the end. When I select this one space between, so it will give the equal spacing between each and every control in the container. So it is the primary axis, that is horizontal. Now let me keep it here in the start. Next I want to go with the vertical alignment case, that is y axis, secondary axis. So by default it is at the start. Next I want to keep them in the center. Center means now it is the vertical. Now I am changing the vertical alignment. And now when I go and keep it at the end, it will be at the end now. And then space between. So it is stretch case. It is stretch. Stretch means it occupies the complete height of the container. So this is what the functionality of this justification and alignment. So for the horizontal container, primary axis is justification, secondary axis is alignment. So if you want, by default is start. If you want to keep in center, horizontal is center. In the horizontal mode, you want to keep in the end. In the horizontal, if you want to keep equal spacing, you can select. And second alignment, y-axis, y-axis. So y-axis, if it is in the starting now, it is in the starting, in the y position, 0. If you want to keep them in the middle or you want to keep them in the end. If I go and select in the center, it is center. In the y-axis, it is keeping in the center. It is the end, and it is in the stretch. Stretch means it will take the full height. So this is what the functionality of this justification alignment. Next one is gap. Now what is this gapping is? Gap means between each and every control in this container, how much gap you want to keep. Let's say I want to keep the 10 pixels gap. Now see, in between each and every item, it is keeping the 10 pixels. If I keep here 20, now it is keeping the space between each and every control. When I keep here 40, now it will keep the space between. So it is the gap between each and every control in the container. So you can use this gap property, or you can use this one, guys. You can use the space between. When I go with the space between, it will occupy the equal space. It will use the equal space aligned. Or you can use the gap property. So it is up to us. And next one is horizontal overflow and vertical overflow. So what is horizontal overflow and vertical overflow? Now see, by default is hide, or you can scroll. So now see, by default is hide. And when I go and keep it as scroll, now see, by default there is no any scroll bar is available. What is this horizontal overflow means? Let's take, when I go and add few more controls, and now see, number of controls is added. Whenever the number of controls is added here, automatically you can see one scroll bar here. So this scroll bar is used to scroll, guys. It is used to scroll. When I play, it is used to scroll it. If you want to scroll, if you have more number of, this is the width, this is the width of this container. If the number of controls, if the controls in this container is exceeding the more than width of the container, it is exceeding more than the width of the container. Just 1 second. It is exceeding more than the width of the container, then it will show this scroll bar. If you use the scroll bar, or you can hide the scroll bar, guys. If you see when I select this, you can hide the scroll bar also. You can hide it and play. Now when I hide it, now you are not able to see it. You are not able to see that scroll bar. So if you have more number of controls in this container, if you want to scroll means you can add the scroll bar. And then scroll vertical. What is meant by scroll vertical? So by default is hide. When I go and turn on, now by default you are not able to see the vertical. So when we can see the vertical means, let's take when I go to the wrap count, let me turn on the wrap count, guys. When I turn on the wrap count, and also when I go and reduce the width of this container, and now see, you can see something here, scroll bar, vertical scroll bar. Now you can see the vertical scroll bar. If you want to see the vertical scroll bar, you can add it. If you want to hide or unhide, it is up to us. So it depends, guys. Depends on your requirement. You can go and add the vertical scroll bar or a horizontal scroll bar. So this is what the functionality of horizontal overflow, vertical overflow. Overflow means if the number of controls in the container is overflowing the container width, then at that time, if you want to see those controllers, then we need to use the scroll bars. Either it is a horizontal scroll bar or it is a vertical scroll bar. So now let me go here. Let me go and delete this. Let me go and remove these controls. Fine. This is how it's look like. This is what the function of vertical scroll bar and horizontal scroll bar. Now, what is wrap count? By default, the wrap count is turned off. When I turn off, when I play, see, not play. When I turn off the wrap count, when I reduce the width of this container, now see, the remaining controls, I'm not able to see them. But when I go and turn on the wrap count, so whenever the width of this container is less than this controls. So now see, automatically the number of controls is wrapped. Wrap means it's going to the next row. When I click on it again, now it is wrap again. So now you can see the scroll bar. There is one scroll bar available here. There is one scroll bar available. You can see that scroll bar. So if you why am I able to see the scroll bar? Because the scroll bar is turned on. Vertical. When I hide it, now you are not able to see that scroll bar and you are not able to move up or move down. If you want to move up or move down, it is not possible. So this is what the wrap count is. What's the functionality of this wrap count? This wrap count, it is used to, when I turn on this, if I go and based on the width and height, based on the width of this container, automatically it will adjust these controls, adjust the controls in the container. This is what the functionality of this wrap count. And next, the next one is positioning. Position means, let me do one thing. Let me go and keep the gap to 0. Fine. Next one is position. So what's the X position, Y position you want to keep for this in this container in this screen? You can, this is self-explanatory options, guys. X position, Y position, width and height. Next, there is something called padding. What is this padding? Padding means, so from on the top, let me go the left padding. From the left side, I want to start with the after 20 pixels. Now see, from the left side, it is starting after the 20 pixels. Right padding also you can keep. So right padding you can keep again 20 pixels. From the right side also you can start with 20 pixels. And top padding, on the top you want to keep 30 pixels. So 30 pixels. Bottom padding you can keep whatever, if you want to keep 30 or 10, whatever the bottom padding you want to keep. So this is nothing but what's meant padding. Let me keep the padding to 0 every day. Let me keep it as 0. All these are also self-explanatory options, guys. Self-explanatory options. And there is something called fill color, border color, and radius. Border radius if you want to keep any radius. And shadow. What's the shadow you want to keep? Light color, semi-light, regular. Some colors you want to keep, you can keep. This is the hide and hide. Hide or unhide. If you want to hide or unhide, you can use this property. So this is what the different properties will have for this case. These are the properties of the horizontal container. Same for the vertical container also. Same properties will have. When I go to the vertical container, in the vertical container, by default, the direction is what? Vertical. If you want to change it to horizontal container means, yes, you can change it to a horizontal container. As I said that you can change the vertical containers to horizontal container or horizontal container to a vertical container. And in the vertical container, what's the primary axis? As it is a vertical container, the primary axis is what? Vertical. So vertically, where you want to keep? First of all, it is in the start. Now it is at the center. Vertical means X, Y axis. and next at the end, and next stretch, sorry, not stretch, space between. So it is aligned space between equally, it is space between. Next, secondary axis is what? Alignment horizontal. That means this is the one horizontal. Now horizontal limb, where you want to keep, guys? Final, right now it is in the center. Sorry, it is in the first. Let me keep it in the center now. Horizontal in the center, at the end, and then stretch. Stretch means it occupies the complete width. It occupies the complete width here. So this is what the functionality. So in the horizontal container, what's the primary axis? Horizontal. What in the vertical container, what's the primary axis? Vertical. So it depends based on the container you are using. And next, gap property, same. If you want to keep the spacing between each and every control, any gap, you can keep the gap property. And then hide a scroll bar. If you want to keep any scroll bars, you can keep. Wrap count, same. When I turn on the wrap count, when I reduce the height, automatically it will adjust the controls in this. This is what the functionality of the wrap count. Same properties will have. X position, Y position, padding, same. Whatever the properties will have for the horizontal control, same properties will have for the vertical container also. uh, Difference is, in the horizontal container, by default the direction is horizontal, but in the vertical container by default the direction is vertical. In the horizontal container, primary axis is horizontal, secondary axis is vertical. But whereas in the vertical container, primary axis is vertical, secondary axis is horizontal. So if you want to position the controls in the container, so you can select this, you can position it in the middle, end, stretch, or space equally occupy, at the beginning, the end. So it is up to you guys, you can play with this, you can play with this. Fine, these are the controls we'll have. I think the function is changed. Let me keep it like this. And next, now in this, when I select the container, I'm changing all the containers position, all the containers position I'm changing. If you see, I'm changing all the controls in the container. But now my requirement, I want to go and position each and every control in this container. Let's take, I want to go and occupy the complete height of this container. Complete this control need to occupy the complete height. The second one need to occupy the small width, so, some up to here it need to occupy the height, and next one need to occupy the same height, or the width property also. The A will, this need to occupy the 50%, remaining two need to occupy the remaining 50%. Now how to do it? Now how to do it, guys? Now in order to go and perform this, now how to go and play with each control? When I go and select, when I go and select the container, you can position the we can position the controls with the help of this, either in the center. But here we are changing all the controls in the all the controls in a container. But I want to change individual container. I want to resize or each individual control in the container. Now select the container, this one, select this. I want to go and occupy this control need to occupy the 50%. Remaining these two controls need to occupy the remaining 50%. Now how to do it? So in order to go and perform this, let me go and take another one more screen. Let me take another screen. Let me go here, copy this to copy this container, and then go to the screen to paste it here. This is the horizontal container. And next, let me copy the vertical container. Same, I'm just copying and pasting. So in order to go and discuss about how to go and maintain each and every control, how to go and fix the height and width property of each and every control in a container. So this is the horizontal container. Let me go here, copy this to paste it. This is the horizontal container, and this one is the vertical container. Okay, fine. Now let me go with the horizontal container. Now try to understand. In the horizontal, let me select the horizontal container. Now let me go and select the first one, A. First select the text label. Now this text label will have these properties, text property, font. These are the basic properties, as you know, alignment, everything you can do. But when I scroll down, here there are two properties, guys. Height property. What is the height of this? and then alignment and width property. These are most important. We need to play. So now try to understand. I want to occupy, this is a horizontal container. This control need to occupy the 50% of the width. So how to do it? Let me select this. Or you can hard code it. Let me go to the width property. There is a property called width. By default is 132. Let me keep it as 200. Let me keep it as what? 200. Now see, it is occupying the 200 width. And next control, you can select this one. This control need to occupy the width as 400. It is occupying the 400 width. Next control, it is occupying the remaining width 120. So like this, if you want to play with each and every control in this container, you need to select the control. Here there is a property called width property. Here you can go and fix it. This is the manual. Manually I'm fixing the width now. So there is another one more property called here called flexible width. Now try to understand. I'm selecting the first one. I'm going to turn on the flexible width. And let me select the second one also. Let me turn on the flexible width. Let me select the third one. Let me turn on the flexible width. I'm turning on the flexible width for each and every control, guys. When I select this, all the controls, for all the controls, I'm turning on what? Flexible width. I'm turning on the flexible width. When I turn on the flexible width, what this flexible width will do? So this property, what this property will do here is, this property, where it is, this flexible width property, what it is doing, what is it is going to take, what it is going to identify, what is the complete width of this container, what's the complete width of this container, and then it is going to occupy equal, it is going to give the equal spacing, it is giving the equal spacing for these three controls. So let's take, if you don't want to give the equal spacing, let's take now my requirement, this control need to occupy the 50% of space. Then select this container, select this control, and then go to the property here. Here you can see fill portions. Fill portion means, so this control, each and every control is occupying how much space? Third path. This one is occupying the, so complete width is divided into three parts. It is occupying one part and another part, three parts. Now my requirement, this A need to occupy the two parts. A need to occupy the 50% of the space. So let me go and keep here 2. I want to occupy the 50% of space. Click on the enter button. Now see, A is occupying the 50% of space, 50% of width. Remaining B and C is going to occupy remaining 50%. In this remaining 50% space also, let's take B need to occupy the 30% or 40%. B need to occupy the 40%. So you can go here again, go to the flexible. Here it is remaining width is 50%. In this it is occupying 25, 25. Let's take here, it need to occupy the two portions. And now see, two portions means this A control and B control. These two are occupying what? How much space? You can see here. You can go to the fill portions. It is occupying the, totally it is divided into 5 parts. It is occupying the two portions. It is occupying the two portions. And also it is occupying how many? One portion, fill portions. So this is what the functionality of the flexible width. Most of the times go with the flexible width only, guys. Most of the times go with what? Flexible width. Let's take now my requirement. A need to occupy the 50%. So if you are not able to understand these fill portions, just pass the percentage. A need to occupy the 50%. Just pass here 50. Now see, A is occupying the 50% space. Whatever the space it is there, A is occupying the 50% space. Next, go to the B. B need to occupy a 30% space. Let me pass here 30. And now see, B is occupying 30% space. Now you can see A is occupying the 50% space. B is occupying the 30%. 30 plus 50, 80. Remaining 20% of space will be occupied by the C table. So like this, you need to go with the flexible width. For the horizontal container, you can keep the width as flexible, guys. For the horizontal container, we can make the width as flexible. We can keep the flexible width. So if you are not able to understand the fill portions, just pass the percentage. You want to keep the 20%, 50%, whatever the percentage, just pass the percentage, automatically will take the width. And next, the next portion is, you can see here something called alignment. Alignment. So there is something called, and by default is where? Start. You can keep it where? Center. And then left, right. You are not able to see the difference here. Why? Because, so why? Because the flexible width is turned on. Why? Because the flexible width is turned on here. Because of that, you are not able to see the different. So And also there is another one more property called what? Height property. What's the height of this control? 120. Let's take, what is the height of this container? 630. 630 is the height. Let me do one thing. Let me select this control. I'm going to keep the height as, I'm going to keep the height as 500. 500 is the height I'm keeping. I'm now see, I'm increasing the height of this control only. 500 is the height. Now try to understand. When I go and reduce the height of this container, up to here it is fine. Up to here it is fine. But now when I go and reduce the height of this container, but the this label height is not reducing according to the container. If I select the container, if I select the label now, see the label height is here. So how to make it as dynamic, you will be discussing it in the coming class. We'll understand. So this height is also important. Whenever if you are working with the container, the height property is also important. What's the height you want to keep for this control? So I'm keeping the 500. Let me remove it. Let me keep it as 120 or 130. Let me keep the height to 130. So if you want to resize or position the controls in the container, you need to go and play with this case. Height property, and also you need to go and play with what? Width property. You need to go and play with what? Width property. You can go to the height property here. So instead of hard coding the value, you can select this and then go to the height property. You can keep here parent dot height. When I keep parent dot height, now see whatever the height I'm having for the container, the same height it will occupy. So when I go and select this container, when I reduce the container, so automatically the height of this label also reducing or not? Yes. When I select only the label, now you can see the height of the label is also reducing. The height of the label is also reducing. So don't hard code the values. Whenever if you are resizing them or positioning the controls in a container, don't hard code the values. Always make sure you need to go and make use of the flexible width and fill portion. And also you need to go and make use of what? Don't hard code the height property also. Make sure you need to go and go to the height property, go and use parent dot error or some customizations. What are the customizations we can do? You'll understand, guys, what type of customizations we'll be discussing in the coming classes. The same for the vertical container also. If you want to play with this controls in this container, let's take I want to go and occupy the full width. Then what I need to do? You can go here, select this control, and then go to the properties. Here for this vertical container, what is the flexible? For the vertical container, the height is flexible, but the horizontal container, but in the horizontal container, width is flexible. Width is flexible. Now go to the vertical container, select this control. Now I want to keep the flexible height. So it is not hard, the height is not flexible. Turn on the flexible height. And now see when I turn on the flexible height, so it is taking the these two controls. What these two controls hard coded height? What is the height of these two controls? What is the height of this 110? 110. So it is taking the 110 and 110 remaining complete height. This A control is taking. If you want to equally divide this height, then select the B control, go and turn on the flexible height. Select the C control, turn on what? Flexible height. Now it is going to occupy the same height for all. If you want to go and increase the height, if this A need to occupy the 40% of width, 40% of the height means select the A control, go to the fill portion, keep what? 40%. Oh, not 40, fill portion. It is taking too much. I think let me go and keep here one thought. Okay, let me go to the fill portion. It need to take two portions. Two means 50%. So it is occupying the 50%, but I want to take only 40%. 40% means let me keep here the percent as 40. So okay, it is taking the complete width of 40. So let me keep it as 2. So anyway, I will discuss, guys, how to make it as 40 in the coming classes. 40%, how to take the 40% of height. Let me make it as 3. Let me make it as 3. Yes, it is occupying. Is the 40% of width it is occupying. So it is the 3/4 percentage. I think it is 3/4 means it is occupying the 75% of height. So to occupy the 40% of height, we need to keep here 1.5. Let me keep here 1.5. Yes, 1.5. When I keep 1.5, it is occupying what? Around 40% of height. Let me select this one. Now it need to take the Let's take it need to take 50% of height. Let me take 2. Now it is taking the 50%. It is taking the 50% of height. It is taking the 40%. Remaining height it is taking. So like this, if you want to go and you can make the height as flexible here in the vertical container. If you want to fix the width property, go to the width, select this one, and then you can go and keep the width property here. By default, the width is 150. You can hard code the values, or you can keep the width as go to the height width property, parent dot width. Now see automatically is taking the complete width of this parent. Parent means this is the parent for this label. So this is what how to go and resize or reposition the controls in a container. Whenever if you want to resize or reposition the controls in a container, just by drag and drop, it is not possible. Guys. Just drag and drop, it is not possible. You need to play with the controls. So you need to play with what? The controls. So if you want to play with the controls, we need to use the height property, and then we need to go and use what? Flexible width in the horizontal container. When I go to the vertical container, you'll flexible height will be there. You'll have what? Let me select this. We have the flexible height, and then here the height is flexible, but the width we need to go and hard code it. But don't hard code it manually. Always we need to go and use parent dot error divide with 2. So let's take I want to parent dot error is the width, right? I don't want to occupy the complete width by 2. When I keep by 2, so it is occupying the 50% of it. When I keep by 3, it is going to take what? 40%. Like this, you need to take the width guess. How to take it? We'll be covering slowly in the coming classes. So in today's class, we understand what? We understand what's meant by containers and what the different types of containers will have. What is the function of vertical and horizontal container? And also we understand what is meant by a container control and how to resize and reposition the controls in a horizontal or a vertical container. And the next point we need to understand. So what is the difference between the groups and control containers guys? So the next point we need to understand about what? The difference between group and control, difference between the containers and the group. So almost both are similar, but there is difference case. Container is one of the control in Power Apps, but group is not a control. Let me show you the difference. The first difference is in the groups, it is not possible to add a new control to a group automatically guys. Let me go here. Let me go and add one new screen. Let's take, uh, let me add, let me go here. It is a group. Let me take it as a container. Fine. Now, let's take, I'm adding the different controls. Let's take, I'm adding different button controls. I'm adding the different buttons or different controls. Now see, you can just drag and drop or resize the controls here, and you can rename them. You can rename them. Now, if you want to group all this, you can select all the controls. You can select all the controls and you can go and group them. You can click on group. So this is what is meant by a group. Already we know in the previous classes we understand. This is what is meant by a group. Now, what's meant by container? Let me add one container. Let me add one horizontal container. Let me take the container and keep it here. Now in the container, let me go and add the same button controls. I'm adding the button controls. Now see, in the container, all the button controls are aligned properly in the horizontal. But whereas in the group, it is not aligned properly. This is the first difference. So in the group, it is possible to, it is not possible to add the new item to a control case. It is not possible to add new control to a group automatically. Let's take, there is one group, right? So this is the group. Let me go here. What is the group? This is the group. So into this group, I'm able to add the new button means or a new control. No, let me select the group and then go to the insert tab. When I add another one more button, so it is not adding into the group. It is adding outside of the group, guys. It is adding outside of the group. Automatically, you are not able to add a new control to an existing group. If you want to add means, first of all, you need to go and ungroup it. First of all, you need to go and ungroup, and then you need to select all these controls again. You need to select all the controls and then click on group. Now it will group again. So by default, if you have a group, in that group if you want to add another control automatically, it is not possible. But whereas in the container, it is possible to add a new control to a container automatically. Let me go to the container. If I want to add another one more control, you can add automatically. Automatically it is adding another one more control to a container. So this is what the first difference. The second difference is, by default it is possible to drag and drop and resize the controls in a group. In the group you can just drag and drop the containers, guys. You can just drag and drop the controls in a group and resize them. You can resize them. But in the container you are not able to drag and drop. As we know that in the container you are not able to drag and drop and resize the controls in a container. You want to make use of the properties. With the help of properties we are able to resize the elements in the container. And next, one more difference is, groups are not responsive. By default groups are not responsive. Most of the times groups are used for what? Groups are used to make the visible property hide or unhide, and visible property, and some alignment properties, x property, y property, alignment properties. So mostly we'll use the groups to hide or unhide, and to position them, but not more than that. Groups are not responsive. But whereas, as we know that containers are responsive. By default the containers are responsive, and in the container all the controls are aligned properly. But in the group, controls are not aligned properly. We need to align them. But in the groups we can resize and drag and drop. But in the containers we are not able to drag and drop, or we are not able to resize them. So this is what the difference is. In the interviews there may be a chance of asking the difference between the groups and containers. So groups, it is possible to add, it is not possible to add the new controls automatically, but in the containers we can add. And in the groups by default we can drag and drop and resize the controls. But whereas in the containers it is not possible to drag and drop and resize. And controls are not groups are not responsive, containers are responsive. This is what the differences between the groups and the container.